Okay, so I was just watching back the Constraint Convergence Objectivity theory, and I realized that I didn't love the way I explained everything. So I'm not going to go through everything, but I am going to focus on something that I think I did not do a very good job explaining. Hi, my name is Gabe the Great. Welcome to the channel. I'm a human. I'm doing this live, right? I am living, I am figuring this stuff out like everyone else. And when I think I have something, I'm going to bring it to you guys. I'm not afraid of criticism. I'm not afraid of critiques because I believe that's what we need to be doing. We all are talking about the problem. We talk problem. Trump this, capitalism this, like, okay, cool. Let's engage in solutions, right? So constraint objectivity theory is my solution. How do we figure out what's next? All these competing narratives. Okay, we got all these competing narratives all the time. So how do we figure out who's right? Right? Do we just whatever politician I hate the least? That's what we've been doing. Okay. And so I want to go a little bit deeper because the other thing that I love about my manifesto is that if you've downloaded or read it, you know that it's both small and big, right? It's a theory of everything. It's a philosophical theory of everything. And so I go all the way down to who are you, and I extrapolate that out to you are nothing, right? So it's really fun. So I think I missed a core feature that is very necessary to understand. And because I did not explain it in the video, and I think it's good to go back and watch my stuff because I can see what I need to work on. But I want to explain this one thing and then how that flows into constraints. Because I felt like I kept saying constraints a lot without getting into basically my repetition obscured meaning in that video. At least how I felt about it. But I appreciate the likes and the comments and everything. I appreciate the community that is, slowly starting to form. But real quick, a couple of details, but now I'm going to jump into what are constraints and meaning making. This channel is never going to be monetized. I'm not going to censor myself. Just not. A few months ago, I made a video on Luigi, how I felt about it. I felt that it was a waste of a good man. I understand, but I felt like it wasn't. Whatever, I'm not about to, make another comment, get this video taken down. But basically, my channel is never going to be monetized again. And I'm comfortable with that because, whatever. So if you want to support my channel, I'm the leader of something called the Pro-Human Movement. And we have something that we do called the Subscription Liberation. And what the Subscription Liberation is, it's our goal and our plan to consolidate and liberate ourselves, consolidate our money and liberate ourselves. So what we're asking everybody is to subscribe to liberation. Just like you would subscribe to Netflix, just like you would subscribe to Hulu, come subscribe to liberation. If 100 million people gave $1 a month, nobody would miss a meal, nobody would miss a bill, and it would be enough money to change this country by sheer force of will. Okay? The Democrats and Republicans only spend about $1 billion, that's how much they say, during an election cycle. That's $1.2 billion in a year if 100 million people came together and gave $1. Again, like I said, I'm about solutions over here, baby. I know the country's fucked up, it's messed up times, whatever. We about solutions. And so I'll never get paid no matter how big this video gets. I will never get paid unless the people watching this video literally go inside their wallet and help me. And so I know that it's tough times, but I do believe we have a great model that works for everybody. I think it's a great model. I think anybody can participate because that's what it's about. We need to gather everybody together. And so few maintenance things. So if you ever want to support me, the likes, the comments, the watch time, all that helps me push the message out there. But if you actually want to help me personally, just know I'm not going to be making money from this channel. And I really do need you guys' support to continue this because we do have a dream. If you look in the link in the bio, you can find the Subscription Liberation. You can also find my manifesto. You can also find the Pro-Human Movement, party rights and our rights and values, what we believe. And then you can also join us on Sundays, our community meetings, 12 p.m. over Zoom, where we go through deeper the manifesto, what we believe, and we also have leadership nights where we try to plan and we're creating a parallel system. Basically, we're not talking about we need to create. We are creating a parallel system, and it starts at a belief level. We're not starting from Black liberation or leftism or conservatism, or we're starting at humanity. Everybody, let's just go there, because the United States of America has never gotten there. The United States of America, it is in its Constitution. A fifth of the population was considered property, and indigenous people were basically savages to be destroyed, to be able to commit genocide to. So a lot of Americans are struggling with what they're seeing happen with Israel and stuff, but it's like it does go back to us. And it's because underneath everything we do, when we go to work, when we watch videos, when we support this person, vote for this person, there's an undergirding meaning that we accept as Americans. And the biggest one is probably American exceptionalism. Like, we're the exception. That stuff could never happen here. We're not that bad. And because we believe, most of us don't just believe it, we live it out. Even if we hate it, we live as if it can never get that bad in America, no matter how bad it fucking gets. And so I'm the guy here to say it's really fucking bad right now, guys. And if we don't do something, it is guaranteed to get worse. You read history books. You are not guaranteed to not go through a Great Depression. You are not guaranteed to not go through a plague. You are not guaranteed to get to your happy life. And so if you don't start living like you could lose everything that you worked for up to this point, you're guaranteed you're going to lose it. We are not the exception. Okay? So that's maintenance. So let's get into constraints and meaning making. I kept saying constraints, your story's being constrained, What was I talking about? Well, it goes back to the my basic ontology, which is, I believe that reality, what reality is, self, society, and the unknown. And a core part of self, right? I feel like society and unknown are pretty explanatory, although I do go very deep into them in the manifesto. When we are talking about ourselves, okay, I'm going to read a little bit from page 15 of my manifesto. One of the things that I should have spent more time explaining is that we are meaning makers. Every human being is a meaning maker. You're making meaning of this video right now. As a matter of fact, I'd be willing to bet you can't think of one time in your life where you weren't trying to find the meaning of something. That's why nihilism feels so visceral. It feels so like, what's going on? When you're looking out into the world and nothing means anything. What the politicians are saying are the exact opposite of reality. And you literally feel like your brain is splitting, like you're in a, like you don't even know how to describe it. Like, that's how bad reality is. It's because you're trying to make meaning. It's what you do. You cannot function. You cannot survive. Consciousness will not allow you to survive without making meaning. There's oftentimes why I did a video, I think a week or so ago, where I said suicide makes sense in America. Because as every human being on planet Earth that has ever existed, we're all meaning makers. And when you live in a country where the leaders, their primary focus is to distort meaning so they can do things for themselves, it's going to feel chaotic. It's going to feel like, what's the point? Why am I here? Why am I going to work? Why this? Why that? And it's because you're a meaning maker. When we start talking about pro-human, we got to start talking about what humans are. And I want to put before you, if you're watching this video, human beings are the meaning makers of the universe. If you erase all humans, no capitalism, no socialism, no America, no these concepts, no justice, no love is not a thing, God is not a thing, the metric system is not like it takes our consciousness we are the narrators of reality collectively as humans. We don't negotiate the name of the sun with anybody. We don't negotiate, the name of the stars or the name of the earth with anybody except another human being. We are all meaning makers. If you had to say, okay, what is the one thing that connects all human? Every human being is making meaning. Every human being is making meaning of the next moment. When you came out of your mother's womb, your first cries was a negotiation with the unknown. You were trying to figure out, what does this mean? Who is that voice? What are these lights? That is your life. And you see it so clearly in infants. They're trying to figure out what everything means. What's this? What's that? And that never stopped. You've never stopped doing that since the day you've arrived. You do not know a day on this planet where you are not making meaning. And so when I was talking about stories and I was talking about constraints, what I'm talking about, the constraints is the pushback on the meaning that we're making. Okay? That was the big key piece that I think I missed in that last video. The constraints are against the meaning that we're making. We are telling ourselves, this is what this means. This is what this action by Trump means. This is what this action by the Democrats means. This is what this action by the Republicans means. And unfortunately, in the United States of America, when people are faced with opposite, information or information that goes against their narrative, goes against their meaning, in America, unfortunately, because we are not connected with the unknown, because we don't accept that the unknown is a big part of living. We have to not know in order to discover, in order to make meaning. If you think you know everything, then your reality is going to push back against you. Okay. But I want to talk about meaning making for a second so we get that. So I'm on page 15 here about the third paragraph down. Universal consciousness is the ultimate meaning maker. Meaning does not exist out there. There is no cosmic folder labeled purpose waiting to be discovered. Meaning is the byproduct of awareness. It is not found, it is made, because consciousness needs structure to survive. A conscious being cannot function in pure chaos. It needs story, symbol, connection. This is why humans invent gods, philosophies, art, war, politics. It's why we name our pain, give shapes to our dream. Without meaning, consciousness collapses into confusion. So it creates meaning, even if it must lie to do so. But the Overman does not lie. He creates meaning with eyes wide open, aware that it is a creation and not a commandment. Universal consciousness is the source of meaning making, not because meaning exists, but because consciousness needs it to exist. We treat ourselves like anomalies in the systems, like intelligent bacteria that somehow grew self-awareness on a blue rock. But that's not the truth. We are not separate from the universe. We are what the universe is doing right now. That didn't stop. The stars didn't stop creating after galaxies. The universe didn't finish evolving after it cooled. It kept going until it began to ask questions, and those questions came from us. It didn't start with humans, but through us, it can ask new questions. It can wonder, imagine, remember, and create. We are tools through which the universe tries to understand what it is. We are its memory, its mirror, its question. Humans spend their whole lives searching to be part of something bigger than themselves, as if they aren't already the main characters of the universe. There is nothing bigger than the universe, and we are a part of it. We are so self-centered, partly by design of the body, that we forget we are already part of the biggest show in the universe itself. And as far as I'm concerned, until we discover otherwise, we are the directors, producers, and starring actors. At all times, every human being is a part of something bigger. You are not just a part of something bigger is a part of you, and it needs you to let it free. This is why there's no singular purpose for human life. This is why there's no one path we're all meant to follow, because the universe doesn't just want to know one thing, it wants to know everything. That's why some people become astronauts. Others want to raise children. Others want to study mushrooms or build machines or write poetry or live quiet lives that no one ever reads books about. Each one of them is valid. Each one of them is a part of the discovery. Each of us is a unique angle through which the universe sees itself. Some wide, some narrow, some loud, some quiet. Some leave legacies. Others will leave ripples no one remembers, but they all still mattered. We are all telling ourselves a story. We're all creating meaning. And that meaning starts at universal consciousness, as is expressed through our body, as we engage with our environment and interact with our society. Okay? We're all trying to make meaning of this. And the purpose of constraint convergence objectivity theory is to help us to figure out, okay, in our pursuit of meaning, in our pursuit of theories, philosophies, religions, narratives, stories, ideologies, as we are this culture, as we are discovering these and we are going through these, I want to give us a framework for which we can begin to analyze this, not just from a material standpoint of view, but from a consciousness standpoint of view. How do we as conscious beings navigate this? Because we here in the United States of America, we have a very unique opportunity that's never been happened before in human history. We have this opportunity to show the rest of the world what diversity as a default looks like. What does it look like when you have all these different meaning makers all creating their own separate? My life is not inherently more important than yours. What the universe sees through your eyes is important because it's never going to see it again. Your life will never be lived again. Your uniqueness. Because in order to be you, you would have to have the same experiences and the same environment, and that's not going to happen because it'd be at the same time. You are unique. Even if there's parallel universes, that's a different version of the universe, not a different version of you. You are never going to have another life. This is it. If you want to believe in the afterlife, that's fine. I'm not telling you don't. I'm not telling you don't live for something bigger. But what I am telling you is that you're making meaning of this life. You're making meaning of this life. And in that pursuit of meaning, we tell ourselves something about ourselves, right? The reason why the constraint convergence objectivity theory is necessary is because we now know from quantum physics that reality is not both local and real. And we also know that when we are engaging with things in the world, right, that are outside of us, it matters how the person who is engaging with things that are outside of us, the stories that they tell themselves, their subjective way, their brain, their filter. We all filter the world through a specific lens. I'm trying to help us think about this lens right here. How do you make sure the lens through which you're filtering the world, because that's not going away, guys. That's what's not going away. Left versus right wing will go away. It wasn't here forever. It's not going to be here forever. Okay? Religion is going to go away. It's going to go away. Capitalism, so it's going to go away. These things don't last forever. But what I do know for a fact is going forward, every human being has a filter through which they are viewing life. And how do we bring a diverse population of people? Because diversity says that these filters are all very different. How do we unite them under something that where they can retain their individuality, they can retain their version of the universe while still being cohesive in a diverse society? Because again, diversity is a default of the universe. If the universe wanted everything the same, we'd be the same. But if everything was the same, the universe can't know anything because it would know everything because everything would be the same, right? So when I start talking about constraints, what I'm talking about is this filter through which you are viewing your life, whether that's through your politics, your gender, your religion, your ideology, your philosophy. I want us to begin to analyze this. And when I talk about constraints, is what I'm saying is, what happens when the world pushes back on your narrative? What happens when the world is pushing back on a nation's narrative? Right? Here's one. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt if you're an American, but Donald Trump has proved it. You can't vote out evil. That's something that Americans have told themselves. Oh, if you don't like the president, you don't like this person, we'll just vote him out. Okay, he did that with Donald Trump. Got it in 2016, voted him out in 2020. How's that going for us in 2025, headed into 2026? Because you can't vote out evil. It's evil. You can't stop a criminal. A criminal is not going to fall in line with the law. A con man doesn't fall in line with the law. That's not going to happen. But if you tell yourself, no, we can just vote this problem away. You're going to keep bashing your head looking for the right Democrat. When am I going to get this Democrat they're for pro-Israel, and this Democrat, they don't want to. Like, you're going to beat your head over and over looking for a politician because your narrative, you're not recognizing the constraints of your narrative. Maybe you can't vote it away. Okay, well, what do we do there? Let's figure it out. But we're not going to start figuring out until we start going like, okay, something is wrong. And I keep telling people, Donald Trump is not a problem. Donald Trump is a reflection. And our quickest way out of it here is to look in the mirror. This is not about blame. This is not about shame. This is about civic responsibility to your country, to your community, to your society. That's what this is about. America is a country that doesn't teach a lot about civic duty, civic responsibility. I said this to somebody the other day. America is looking for salvation, not liberation. Americans are looking for salvation, not liberation. They're looking for someone to come save them and say, hey, I'll do the hard work. I'll die on the cross for you. I'll run the election. But the problem is, if you're looking for a savior, you're not living in reality. You're not living. You're letting them do all the. So yes, they lie. Yes, your politicians lie. Yes, they tell you what you want to hear and then get power and then don't really do what you wanted them to do. But you're their fan. So you keep voting for them. And they're better than the other guy. So I say, here's another narrative we tell ourselves. And when it comes to politics, okay? Maybe I'll keep this politics so we can see the constraints. Maybe I can bring up constraints in this realm. Here's another narrative that I see reality pushing back against in politics. Voting for the lesser of two evils. How has that worked out for America for the past decade or so? Has voting for the lesser of two evils helped us at all? Or did it create a system where politicians just began to understand that they just needed you to hate them less than the other guy? Right? It's not that I'm trying to attack voting, it's that I'm trying to activate civic duty and responsibility. Right? I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you didn't vote. That's irrelevant to me. We are all in this situation now. And when that narrative gets pushed back against, oh, I'm just voting for the lesser of two evils. Well, we need to analyze that. You're still voting for evil. How can you get good from evil? Right? We can rhetorically push back against, push back against it. That's what I mean by constraints. You tell yourself something, so you tell yourself the world is this way. White supremacy, another one. What are the constraints against white supremacy? Well, black people aren't less intelligent and they perform just as good as white people, if not better in some areas. The male loneliness epidemic, a lot of that has to do with white supremacy. The fact that most white people are poor. How can white people be superior if most white people are poor? The fact that we know that whiteness has no, race has no biological reality. It's a social construct. When these pieces of information, as we begin to learn as a society, as we begin to discover new things, travel through the unknown together, things are going to reveal themselves. These can wait. And as a white person or as whatever, you got to sit back and go, wait a second. How can we be superior? If we were superior, why do we have to have a whole legal system that favors us? If we were superior, if we have higher IQs, why do we have to talk about having, how come nobody else talks about how higher IQ is? Right? I'm trying to teach a way for individuals to interrogate themselves because you are the filter through which the universe gets to know itself. You are the filter, and you need to know when reality is pushing back against this filter and going, wait a second, this story, this narrative. So oftentimes when you feel, that anxiousness, that frustration, that, helplessness, that hopelessness, reality's pushing back against some narrative you're telling yourself, right? And usually that's where you got to go intuitive. Americans are really bad about being intuitive because, and modern society is like that in general, because modern society has taught humans that the way you learn is by studying. It's not how you learn. You did not learn how to walk by studying a book. You did not learn how to talk by studying a book. You did not learn manners by studying a book. The way that we are being taught to learn was for the purposes of putting people in, developing people for the military and to figure out who could work in factories. That's why our education system is the way it is. And we can keep talking about the problem, but let's develop a solution and let's get back to, okay, if we know that's not how we learn, how do we really learn? What is the best way for humans to learn? It's by trying, by doing, by imitating. This sounds arrogant, but if everybody in the United States of America was like me, it would be impossible for us to be in this situation. So I've teased out the idea of running for governor of Oregon. I genuinely believe if more people were like me, the world would be a better place. Yes, because the way we need to live differently. That's how you learn. You don't learn by reading books or watching video essays. You learn by living. You learn by listening to reality as it pushes back. You go out there and try something, and then you fall on your butt, and then you got to get back and do it again. Isn't that how you learn how to shoot a basketball? Isn't that how you learned how to do paint? Isn't that how you learned how to write? Isn't that how you learned how to do whatever your favorite hobby is? Trial and error. Don't you get more joy from doing those things than going to work every day? Why? Because you're living. You're living. And the life that America has taught you is to follow scripts. We can't abandon the scripts because the scripts stabilize reality. We are 100% correct. If we just abandon everything and we don't do anything, it all will collapse. It all will go coming down. And for a lot of you guys, you can't wait for that. But what happens after the collapse? This is about building something up as this thing comes down. That's what this is about. And to do that, when we're talking about constraints, we're talking about constraints against your ability to make meaning of something. If you're constantly finding friction in society, whether it's politically, relationally, I won't say financially, because I especially will not say financially, because our entire system is focused around money and extrapolating a lot out of you. As a matter of fucking fact, if you are stressed financially, that's how it's supposed to be. Because you wouldn't do your job if you weren't stressed. If there wasn't anxiety, if your needs were taken care of, you would do something else. So never feel down about being broke. Never feel down about not, as a man, never, ever, ever, ever let them make you feel like less of a man because you don't have money. The system is designed so only a few men have money. So don't worry about the financial part. That the system is designed to fuck you up, okay? But when you start to feel these things in these other areas of your life, right? When you start to feel those, that's when you need to begin to examine and look at the constraints. Look at the way that reality is pushing back against you. Allow yourself to feel the frustration. Allow yourself to grieve the crumbling of your nation. Allow yourself to grieve the narratives as you go through them. This society, this anti-society that we live in the United States of America doesn't want you to feel the grief, feel the pain of knowing that your nation is crumbling, knowing that you have been told lies. Feel the anger, feel the rage. No emotion is inherently evil. You're going to, if you love children, you have to hate pedophiles. You can't love children and kind of like these guys. It doesn't work. You're supposed to feel angry when you're wronged in an unjust way. That's what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to defend our children with fury when they shoot up the schools. I went off on a rant yesterday at you self-proclaimed Second Amendment advocates. You guys are liars, and it pisses me off. So many children died because you're liars. You are not going to protect us from a tyrannical government because you haven't done it all year. You're lying. So many children died because you wanted a gun to make yourself feel superior and you weren't being honest with yourself. Or maybe you were and you were just a bad faith actor. I don't know. But we need to feel that. We should feel angry because if I wasn't angry, I wouldn't wake up every day and try to build a better place. You're not going to do that not feeling emotion. This is why I go into emotional intelligence and authenticity right after this. Part of being in touch with universal consciousness is being in touch with your authenticity, is being in touch with your emotions. There are no bad emotions. If you hate something, it's for a reason. Listen, anti-Semitism propaganda is giving a lot of people legit reason to be anti-Semitic. That's not our fault. That's not your fault. You're pissed that your country's being hijacked. You're supposed to feel that. Something has pushed back against you and you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to grieve. You're supposed to weep. You're supposed to be angry. You're supposed to feel hatred. That's what you're supposed to do. You can't be afraid for your meaning to collapse because it's through you that the universe can create new meaning. I tell people this all the time. I'm not worried about the surveillance state because these videos will be in the future. The surveillance states needs to be worried about what the future are going to say about them. The Elon Musk ain't thinking about what they're going to be saying about him 100 years from now. Do you know the kind of changes society is going to make because of this time period? Y'all don't get it. We are on the ground floor of human history. Never before in human history have the future been able to literally watch the past in 4K, in high definition. That's what y'all don't get. You are living on the ground floor of humanity. We need to get this as right as we can in our lifetime. Because whatever we don't have, we're going to leave to a future that is worse off than us. These kids can't read. It's not even a joke. Some of you work in education know exactly what I'm talking about. No, you're supposed to feel when the constraints when the constraints reveal themselves. Yes. Anger is supposed to lead you right now. Sadness, grief, anguish. That's what we're supposed to be feeling because your deepest truths about yourselves are being violated. And now is the time where you figure out what you really believe. What do you really believe? And this is where we got to go deep and understand you cannot have a diverse population with any supremacists whatsoever, white racial supremacists or religious supremacists. It can't happen. It's just not possible. You can be mad at me for saying it. You can show me, explain to me how we can have One group of people who believe that they can be above the law, above the rules, they can make the rules, they can do whatever they want, including using force, including using fraud, including using manipulation and propaganda. How? How do the rest of us exist in that society in harmony? It's not possible because they are imposing upon other people's ability to make meaning for themselves. If every human being is the universe getting to know itself, which is what I believe, then that means whether you're a nonverbal autistic girl or the president of the United States, you have a right to consciousness. You have a right to create meaning for yourself. You have a right for agency. So how do I have agency? How can I create meaning for myself when if I create the wrong meaning that is not antisocial, that doesn't harm anybody else, but just goes against a particular regime's meaning, how do I coexist? You can't. You just go ahead. You think you can't. And you guys know this. You've read the history books. The problem is you're not living history. You're not living history. And when you're living, you recognize these problems, not as problems, but as constraints. Okay, if the job market is down, then something we're telling ourselves about American society is wrong. It's wrong. Okay, if there's so much friction between men and women, then something we're telling ourselves about partnership is wrong, because that's just unnatural. It's unnatural to hate all men. It's unnatural to hate all women. You can't survive. I don't care how you feel about it. You can't survive. The species can't survive. We don't care if you want to be single the rest of your life, but stop fucking up the rest of the dating pool. Stop spewing your hate. We know you didn't trust men. Go over there. We know you don't trust women. Go over there. But it's unnatural. We can't survive as a human species. The narratives we're telling ourselves about our society are wrong. About connection, about love. Most of what we do is rooted in narcissism, is antisocial behavior. But we're too busy trying to talk about ideologies and this and that and da-da-da-da. Our meanings are being challenged. We've studied history so much that we can only adopt their meanings. We don't know how to create meaning for ourselves. We don't know how to create new religions. We don't know how to create new philosophies. We don't know how to create new constitutions. Having the oldest constitution in the world is not a flex. It's a red flag. It literally means we trust the meaning of dead men, the ability of dead men to create meaning for our society than we trust ourselves today. So understanding human beings as meaning makers helps you further understand what I mean by constraints. We can now look at economic news, political news a bit differently now. Now you can ask yourself, I'm seeing a pattern, because you're a pattern recognizer. You're a human. You recognize patterns. I'm seeing this same issue pop up in society. I think that is a constraint revealing itself. That is reality pushing back on who we say we are as Americans. Because again, you can say it. If you don't live it, it's not true. It's not true. Okay, so hopefully that went a little bit deeper and that helped explain constraints more for constraint convergence theory. Because what that means is that as constraints reveal themselves, as people begin to understand that we need to make new meaning, right? People won't begin to make new meaning until their old meaning is pushed up against. If I'm telling myself white supremacy is it and it's working for me, then I'm going to keep doing it. Because where else do I get identity? No one's giving me any place else to have. I'm a conscious being. I need identity. I'm going to create meaning whether y'all like it or not. You don't have to like my meaning, but I need meaning. As a white supremacist, as a, powerful politician, as a capitalist, as a whoever you think is repugnant, they're just as much as part of the universe as you. They need meaning themselves. And so a lot of people are choosing to adopt outdated meanings because we live in a society where not enough people are creating new meaning. And so that's what I'm trying to bring people together and do. The past is not going to get us out of this, guys. The past is not going to create a future America. We got to stop looking to the past. We need to learn from the past. We need to implement things that have been successful over the course of time. But Martin Luther King ain't getting us out of this. Karl Marx ain't getting us out of this. The founding fathers are not getting us out of this because they did not speak to or create a world for the world we are living in. They just did not. They didn't. We have new challenges, new problems, different ways, new technologies, and we need to start engaging with them as they are. And so as the constraints reveal themselves, like I said in the last video, people will begin to converge. This is why I think I'm starting to gain traction now, because people are looking, people are searching. And I say it all the time. Most of the people who follow me is not because I'm a celebrity or I'm saying something, I'm saying something new, but I'm also saying something now. I'm saying something that people feel right now. And that's what's important. We need to engage with the now so we can go forward to the future. Okay? So hopefully that went a little bit deeper for constraints and what people mean and what I mean by that. I'm going to grow. I'm going to keep digging into it. Like I said, I'm creating something new. I don't know how big this will be, but in my head, this is going to be the biggest thing in human history. So I'm going to keep going. But thank you guys so much for your comments and everything. Appreciate you guys. Again, this channel is not monetized, so if you want to support me, I'll leave a link for the subscription liberation. I also leave a link to my Cash App and Venmo. Anything you can do help. If you want to, like I said, if you want to do something more monthly, you can do the subscription liberation. You want to buy me lunch today, I appreciate it. I literally need money, but love you guys. I'll see you next time.